Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Well, hello, this is Stan in Gainesville, Florida, and today we discuss source forward. When is a design finished? What we want to see at LDI, those jerky professors, and amateur night in Waco, all on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
No sisters today.
No sisters today. The sisters are actually working.
I think they're painting our
Unlike
logo.
us when they're working.
The sisters are out with paint buckets, painting over our logo.
Oh, don't say that. They would never do such a thing.
Yeah, they are. They're vandals.
Okay. Anyway, welcome everyone to episode 401. And you may be asking yourself, wait a second. Didn't I just listen to episode 399? What happened to 400?
It's being saved.
What happened to 400? Is this something weird? Have I been like asleep for 2 weeks? Well,
it's in a time warp.
We are in a time warp. That's exactly right, Stan. We are in a time warp. And we're saving 400 for our LBI show in 2 weeks. So that's why we're doing 401.
It's an anniversary
right now.
show. Yeah.
So we're going to have a big celebration at LDI. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, we're writing the script right now. I must tell you, it's cracking me up. I'm cracking up. Well, I've been cracking up, but the script is cracking me up.
You are cracked up. Because you smoked the crack.
No, we're not smoking crack. You're just making my job so hard, Stan. I got to edit all that stuff out.
That's my
man.
role here.
Okay, there you go. So that being said, we're doing 401 today, and then but we're so excited about LDI because we got special swag. We've got a grand prize. We've got prizes for everyone who actually is lucky enough to get their card chosen, their question chosen for us to answer it. And then one of those lucky 5 or 6 people who actually get their card chosen will win the grand prize. Anyway, that's the story, and we're really excited about that. But let's get started with today, because we have a regular show for you today with a lot of fun things to talk about. And Steve has our first question of the day.
Ellen in West Virginia writes, I have a chance to pick up for a very low price 48 ETC Source 4s. I will then convert them to Source Forwards. Any thoughts about this? Your budget is your budget. It seems to me that, not being in your theater, I can't really say it's a good idea or a bad idea. I was looking at Gear Source, for example, and I saw Source 4s going anywhere from $150 to $250. So I assume your price is better than that. Also, I looked online. The Source Forward is about $650, and that's the book price, not the street price. So it seems to me you're paying about, I'm going to guess, $600 a unit when you're all finished. You might want to look at ETC's color source. You might want to look at Chauvet or Elation or Verilite's Acclaim. All of those, the book price are about $1,500, which sounds like a lot, but I bet you the street price is considerably lower than that. It just seems, you're buying old technology with the Source 4 bodies, not necessarily Source 4, but it just seems like there's some, I don't know. What would you recommend, David?
I recommend throwing all that shit out. I mean, move on.
Whoa. I have a different story.
Well, we'll get to you, Stan. I know.
I'll wait my turn.
But, I'm just, you're buying someone else's problems. And even if it's a lens train, lenses can be cracked, or if it's the handles on the side, they could be stripped. There are a lot of things can happen to an old light. I mean, a lot of things happen to old lighting designers. Just look at the 3 of us. Who's going to buy us? No one's going to buy us.
Hey, I'm already sold.
Well, they got a rotten deal.
You got to fight Pam for me, baby. Let me tell you.
So that's my idea. I'd say I agree with Steve in a way. I mean, Steve's saying, well, you got to be careful, but you're going to get what you pay for. That's usually the case. And I would rather go new because life has changed. Technology has changed. So there you go. Stan, okay, now's your chance to tell me why I am full of shit. Go ahead.
Well, I was just up at the factory, as you know, last month, and I was not really up to date on all the latest stuff. So, as Steve says, if your budget's limited and this is the way you think you need to go for budget reasons, and your fixtures are in good shape, yes, there's an RGBA source forward. And I thought, well, that might be something to look at because that is the latest technology. It's just the body that's
you can do
your
color
old thing. And it's sort of like a heart transplant. I mean, if it's just the heart, do you want to just die? I mean, it depends. I think I would look at the source forward color if I was already going in the source forward direction.
Well, the other thing you can do is, an LED is an awfully flexible light. Do you need 48? If you cut that in half and go to 24, you could probably afford the color source. I just don't know what its color mixing capability is against the source forward. So, just because you have 200 lights in your theater doesn't mean you need to replace them with 200 LED fixtures.
Well, Patrick in Sedona, Arizona, I just like to say that over and over again, Sedona, Arizona, because it rhymes. So Patrick in Sedona, Arizona asks, have you used AI for any of your projects yet? And if you have, in what way? Well, Patrick in Sedona, Arizona, like Rosanna Anadana, what I want to tell you is I had not until a week and a half ago because I thought, I'm starting 2 new projects and let's see if I can put some Chat GPT to use. So I did, and I used it for writing. And I do a lot in the early phases of my projects, we have to write these narratives for architects and clients. And I thought, let me just see if I can take one of these old ones and paste some of my language in and ask it to improve it and give it some tweaks. And what normally would take me about 15 hours took me about 3 hours. And you know what? It was good. So then I decided, how much does the paid version cost? And it was $20 a month. And I said, well, $240 a year. That's a reasonable cost for doing business. The business can buy that. So I bought it. Now, I learned this. So now I'm doing a design narrative for a pretty large theater for the Seminole tribe. And we're just getting going. So I've got to do a narrative. I asked it, can I upload CAD files? Yes, you can. Can I upload a 3D model of the building? Yes, you can. Wow. Can I upload a Word file that has my template with all the headings for my narrative? Yes, you can. Wow. Will you be able to extract like precision data out of the drawings? Yes, I can. Wow. So normally this process would take me and I charge about 40 hours to put this thing. It's a week's worth of work. It's taken me about the same week, but in hours, it's been less and it's been better. I turn on my mic, I describe to the thing, okay, we're doing a section on the lighting system. I'm going to use power distribution. I give it a narrative, my own talk. I talk it through. I tell it what I wanted to do. And then I say, now write it for me for my narrative. And it's looked at my old ones. So it knows how I do it. Boom. I'm finished with it. The first draft was finished today. So I'm using it, and it's not expressive writing. It's more technical. It doesn't have to have my voice. So I'm not writing an essay for a class, but I can't see doing it any other way now.
Well, I have a question. Are you still going to charge the 40 hours?
I will bet that he does.
That's a really good question. And
if I was a client, I'm hearing this show right now, I would go immediately and talk to my manager and say, how many hours is he charging for this? I know. Tell him we'll give him the $20.
I'm going to answer the question. Okay? Because he asked a great question. And you know what? I've been thinking about it since I did it. And in fact, I also had it. We were in some negotiations and I had to help me with a proposal. And I sent the proposal to my I'm a subcontractor on this one. And I sent it to the person contracting me. And they said, that proposal is really good, Stan. So I said to my client, I said to her, have a confession, because we're close. I said, have a confession. I had some help with that. I said, I used ChatGPT. And she said, we've been thinking about that, but we haven't tried that yet. I said, you like the way it sounded, right? Yeah, it was really good. But I want to answer Steve's question. And I think you'll appreciate this. I haven't really determined whether I would reduce my fee because it did take me less time, but I asked it to produce a better product. But I would say this. Once upon a time, my Romanian scene design colleague, Mihai Ciupe, was asked to do a quick sketch of some piece of scenery that the scene shop needed more detail on. And he did the sketch and he sent it down to the scene shop. And the technical director said, hey, man, that took you like 6 minutes to do. And he said, no, that took me 35 years to be able to do that in 6 minutes. In other words, the average person could not guide ChatGPT to do what I asked it to do. I'm still bringing the same value. It's just less laborious. And it's actually an improved work product.
Well, when your clients start deciding that they can have ChatGPT or AI do their lighting design for them for less money, then you can understand how.
No, I think it's like we've all said, it's a tool. It's another tool. I tried using the tool and I found it to be successful.
I think you get a whiskey, a cigar, and you give all this information to ChatGPT. You give it all the parameters. This is what it normally takes. This is what it took. This is what you're doing. This is my 30 years of experience. What should I charge? It'd be interesting to see what the computer tells you. Now, what did it tell you?
I actually did that on this project because I've been teaching it about this project for a couple of weeks now. So it knows a lot about this particular project. I go back, even if I don't go back to the same thread, it's in the memory, it's memory banks. I said, estimate the hours for these phases of work. I said, I'll break it down. I'm in this region of Florida. I have this many years of experience. Break it down by schematic design, design development, construction documents. It did it. And you know what? It landed right about where my head was.
Okay, so let's move on. Anna from Panama.
Wait a minute. You guys didn't answer the question.
What?
My question, have you used AI for any of your projects?
Yes, I have. I've used
tell
AI
us about it. Tell
when
us.
I was doing the scene and projection design for a couple of shows this past year.
Tell us about it.
I was using it mostly to create content and compositions in both Midjourney and, of course, Photoshop, the Photoshop AI engine, which is really quite terrific.
Talk about that. I don't know. I haven't used that. Tell me about it.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it's very simple. The great thing about it is that it's not that it's drawing it for you. It's coming up with ideas. It's coming up. I say, show me an oak tree in this position, and and it gives you thousands of them if you want thousands of them. The one in Photoshop is really simple to use. You just draw a selection box, and then there's a little box underneath it where you can describe what you want, and it goes in. It's called generative AI and generative selections.
Nice.
So yeah, it's Adobe is really doing a great job with it. They've put AI in their Logic and also Premiere. So yeah, it's terrific.
Steve, have you touched it yet?
No, I think it's more interesting for set designers right now than it is for me. I'm not terribly interested in doing that. I like doing my own research. I like guiding myself through the process.
So Anna from Panama. How do you like that, Stan? Anna from Panama.
Hey, we're on a kick. I didn't get the same memo from you, but Anna from Panama.
Anna from Panama asks, I am designing a show and I feel strange just sitting here during previews and not making any changes. Is my work finished? Well, that brings up a really interesting discussion, I think. When does our work end? Because I must tell you, in most cases, I'm working all the way through dress rehearsals and previews sometimes and things like that. And sometimes the show is finished earlier and I don't. I just watch the show. The design is finished when it's finished. If it's an opening night and your design's not finished, guess what? your design's finished, unless they're going to pay you to come back and still work on it. Steve, how about you? When is your design finished?
Well, at some point, you have to agree with everybody when you're going to freeze the show. I mean, if for no other reason, it's simple courtesy. You've got to give the stage manager a chance to do what they have to do. You've got to give the follow spot operators a chance to do what they're doing. The actors need to know what is going to happen from moment to moment. So, changes happen during previews, usually not terribly big changes unless it's a monster show in New York. But at some point, you have to stop diddling around the show and just say that's it. For me, I'm trying to lock the show in by the first preview. So the next 3 or 4 are solid and no changes. Because let's face it, I mean, at some point, either you've designed the show or you've got a mess on stage. And if you keep tweaking it and tweaking it, tweaking it, then maybe you haven't solved the problems of the show. And that's completely different from freezing a show. Or as they said in the day, going bird's eye with it. Stan, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to become the man of concise answers. That's my latest goal. I'm just going to answer this really in a broad sense about any art form, not just lighting design. And I'm going to quote Julia Cameron from the book The Artist's Way. And she addresses this question eloquently and concisely. No piece of art is ever finished. There are just interesting places to stop. It's not complete because if you fall into this is also her wisdom, if you fall into perfectionism trap, like Steve was talking about, tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, she also has this piece of wisdom. Perfectionism is egotism in disguise. So if you think you've got to keep working it because I'm a perfectionist, that really means, translate, you're an egotist. And if you arrive at an interesting place and you look at it and you go, this is interesting, it's good, stop. It's not finished. Just stop there. Finished is sort of like it has this finality to it. You might decide tomorrow it's not as interesting, and so maybe you do want to touch it. So you don't want to, but to Steve's point, in our business, there is a freeze point. Absolutely, there has to be. But in an artist studio, and there's no deadline, maybe not. Maybe it's interesting today. It stays interesting for a week, and you don't touch the pick up the brush, and then maybe you do. Same thing with music, David, and composing. I mean, put it in that framework. Maybe that's a good place for you to talk about it. When are you finished composing something?
Well, it's the same thing as lighting. I think what you said is really spot on. It's an interesting point to stop, and that is what Anna's hit, and therefore you stop, Anna.
Right.
Now, the problem with being in a band or with being in a theatrical situation is that there are a lot of other artists who are still evolving. So what your interesting point may be interesting to you, but tomorrow it may change because the actor decided to do something different, explore something else.
Right, or you have a realization like, oh shit, I could have done that.
You got to be flexible. So you can't leave town.
Right.
Don't leave town unless you have a really good associate.
And don't leave it to AI to finish it. You have to finish it. That's not how you use AI.
Not yet.
I would say go back. I think it's episode 356, 355. Listen to Brian Hartley, the lighting designer for Trans-Siberian. He's got definite start and stop dates. He's got goals he has to meet. I think he said he spent 45 days in previs, and that's it. And then he moves into a theater. It was really interesting how he structures his day on something as massive as that.
Well, in case you didn't know, you are listening to Light Talk with the Lumen Brothers and Sometimes Sisters. And today, Light Talk is sponsored by...
From way up in the Texas Panhandle, it's Bad Hombre Stage Productions. Well, Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror and Christmas is just around the corner. And that means the Nutcracker and A Christmas Carol are about to rock your world. And that means you will need a good fogger and snow. I know what you're thinking. I will just use the Weasel's Last Fart Hazer with the dry ice attachment. Up until now, that would be a solid choice. However, we have in stock directly from China the Mist liquid nitrogen fogger. name for the horror movie, The Mist. Juice it up and now. Beloved characters like Clara, Tiny Tim, or Belle will be surrounded by a thick, cold fog and must fend off the murderous mice and soul-sucking ghosts they never see coming. The Mist will lay down fog that would make the New York City production of Phantom of the Opera look like amateur night in Waco. The Mist liquid nitrogen fogger can be tricky. It creates its fog magic at a brisk negative 375 degrees Fahrenheit, but consider the children on stage in those hot lights. The mist will cool them off. You get a thick, creamy fog, and the kids, well, they don't get heat stroke. Win-win for everyone. The Mouse King battle will never be better. Think of the excitement when the mice's swords are exposed to the mist. Whether made of plastic or foam or even thin metal, the mist can freeze and shatter all, even little fingers. That'll teach those kids and those dancing mice and those annoying street urchins to keep on their mittens, scarves, and hats. But safety first. The mist is not for the novice. But who says you are, Dad? Liquid nitrogen can be dangerous in handling. It boils when exposed to air and can often splash and spray everything around it. It can also freeze and destroy skin on contact, and it can cause severe burns and even blindness. But it can also remove warts. You're welcome, little Timmy. However, we have saved the best for last. Bad Hombre Stage Productions is turning back the clock to the golden age of Hollywood. Remember The Wizard of Oz, White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, and who can forget Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, and Marjorie Reynolds in Holiday Inn? That's right, each movie was awash in beautiful mounds of snow, powdery snow to play in, snowflakes of all shapes and sizes on your hair, on your costume, in your face. Heck, Jimmy Stewart even fell into a snowbank. What a trooper. And your productions can have beautiful snow too. Cheap, easy to sweep up, and completely reusable. Order the Mist Fogger today and we'll throw in a 50-pound sack of vintage 1942 natural bleached asbestos. White Christmas snowflakes. The same snowflakes that were used in Citizen Kane. Rosebud. There's a reason he says that. What a night at the theater you will have. You could even drop snow on the audience. Put your mask on, Granny. Here comes the snow again. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Bad Hombre Stage Productions. If we don't make it, you don't need it.
And now, let that snow melt off your nose and let's get back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those ducks, monkeys, and iguanas having wild interspecies sexual experiences in the Light Talk petting zoo means that it's time again for Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About is all about new products that we would really like to see at LDI.
Oh, I got mine.
Which one of these $100 million companies will be actually bringing something to Las Vegas next week that people are going to say, wow. And what would it be?
But you're asking us to project. You're saying, what would we like to see?
Yes, absolutely. Project.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what I want to see. You want
Go
to
first.
Yeah, go.
Go ahead.
All right. There are three things I would like to see. Seriously, this one product will change everything. And that is an AI voice-controlled lighting console. That is what I would like to see. Now, will it be there next week? I doubt
You
it.
might see a prototype.
Also, a tech table heads-up display. So what that would be like a piece of glass that's just between you and the stage, and you can project all of your magic sheets on it, your cue list, everything else, and still see through the glass.
Like a cockpit.
Yeah, it's a heads-up display.
You've been dreaming about that for a while. Yeah, okay.
I've been dreaming about that, but that's not difficult. The technology is already there.
I like that.
But you're in the wrong industry.
Well, I'll tell you, I was just at a show in San Francisco, and I had like 7 computer monitors all around.
It shouldn't really be that hard because isn't it really just reflecting isn't it just reflecting the information on a regular screen? It's just isn't it like a Pepper's Ghost effect kind of?
I'm not too sure what the technology is. All I can say is that it'd be great because that way you wouldn't have to look down or left or right at things. You can look through it. Okay. And finally, the thing I've been dreaming about ever since, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and that is a low-calorie, low-fat, USB-powered margarita to-go machine. I want some low-fat and some low-calorie margarita to-go solutions so that we can keep our slim figures, right, and still like the show. Those are three things I would like to see. The first one, I think, is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years. Hopefully next week. We shall see.
I think the thing you want for the heads-up display already exists. So, because you're Mr. Apple, so the new Apple things that you wear.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you don't want to have goggles there. No, you don't want. I'm just talking about a heads-up display right in front of you.
But I mean, but that thing lets you see through it to the physical world and sees whatever Windows things okay, for me, I guess we'll save Steve for last. I'm going to be short. I just want, and I've just been enjoying that I have work-life balance now, and I work when I want. I'm not stressed out. I want anything that will make the workflow simpler, more efficient, less time, quicker, and not sacrifice quality. Anything that you can give me that will let me maintain this lovely work-life balance that I have now for younger people, so they're not running at 110%, freaking out all the time to get their shows open. Anything that makes it, more humane.
And what product
could be anything.
Yeah, that's a very general concept you brought out. But we're talking about products that a company can make.
Well, they got to come up with the products.
Well, no, I mean, would you agree that a voice-controlled AI lighting desk would make your life easier as a lighting designer if you were actually lighting in theaters?
I can tell you this. I would say yes, because I love to dictate. Now, I dictate my emails, I dictate my documents, then I go back and read. I don't want to type. Typing seems very 20th century now. So microphones are good. It does it well. So any kind of voice control, I give that a thumbs up.
Okay, Steve.
I'm interested in this console. How do you deliver your voice commands to the console?
Just with a headset.
I'm wondering, how if they can really tune that down so it's super quiet. Because you've been in the theater. I don't think it's a bad idea, but you've been in the theater and you've been talking to your programmer, and the director turns around, looks at you, and goes, "Shh." So I'm wondering how fine-tuned they can make it, and can they? I wonder if they can tune it to a specific voice, so you have some flexibility.
AI probably could.
There would have to be a specific voice, and that should not be too difficult. Even in the AirPods nowadays, there's enough voice noise reduction that it's pretty amazing. It really shuts everything.
Well, Siri
out
trains on your voice, right? Doesn't Siri trains on your?
Yeah,
so
yeah. Siri trains, and so does our friend in the bedroom here next to me. She does the same thing. I can't tell her name because she'll ask me what I want. Or tell me about some weird stuff on TV. Anyway, I think that's doable. It's already there. Mm-hmm. So, now I've been talking to programmers about this. I really have, and they, of course, do not.
Of course, they don't
whatsoever. Right. And I said, no, it'll work for you too. I mean, as a programmer, it would work. But they see the writing on the wall, like we see the writing on the wall, because there's going to be a time when we're not going to be around either. So it's just the way technology is happening now. It just depends on how the artist is valued. That's all. All I know is that I just worked with a programmer who was an artist. I worked with 3 programmers over the past month who were artists. And I would not trade them for the world. But unfortunately, not every programmer is like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that the human eye and brain brings to that process. Their input, into the machine is one thing, but what they say to the machine, how they say it is something else. I don't think, I don't think they should be that worried, because I think they do, like we've talked about, a great creator programmer brings something to the table that no machine can duplicate, I think.
Right. I totally agree with that. However, in a small situation, something like this would be great, where you can have a programmer and technology now. I mean, we had an MA, and it was hard to find people who actually knew how to program the damn thing. Now we had a low, it was a very small budget. This last show I just opened, but if you get something the size of an Ion and you rent it for, I don't know, $300 a week, whatever it is, and I could just talk into it and say what I want, that would be great. Obviously, there are other things involved too. You'd have to have lighting fixtures that know where they're at, where they're pointed, or they're upside down, they turned around. All the stages be mapped out and all that. So anyway, that's what I would love to see. So what we're going to get, we'll find out in a week, won't we?
10
Or a
days.
week and a half, whatever it
That's
is.
what
Yeah.
But,
So we shall
I'll
see.
say one thing before Steve jumps in. I was amazed at how much I could, in working with ChatGPT on these documents, how much I could refine it. So if you could get the same level of refinement in the AI lighting console that I was seeing, like it would use like present tense in sometimes the way it wrote it, and I would just say, would you please rewrite this using future tense? And it did that. And then I would say, when you refer to the designer, use my company name and put in SKD. And it would just redo it, and just very, very refined changes that it does. Like, it's like a genie coming out of a bottle. It's remarkable.
I wonder if the entry level into this is previs.
Sure.
And that's where it starts. The console to me seems still like a long way away. But previs, I could see that moving in there so the file can be created and then manipulated by the programmer in the theater, who can bring that touch to it that the computer can't do, because you can't effectively communicate to the computer at some point.
I can see it in previs easily.
It just needs to come up a bit. It just needs to be a little brighter. Things that are...
that's that aesthetic choices.
How do you determine what a little brighter means?
Right. That's a human eye.
You say 10% brighter, 15%, 50% brighter.
Oh, I think that works really well for previs.
I don't see that being an issue. A matter of fact, considering, Stan, you were talking about the voice of ChatGPT being able to refine it. Gloria and I were in Prague, and we were looking at the Great Celestial Clock. We had ChatGPT with us, and she said to ChatGPT, write an essay, a 300-word essay written by a 18-year-old Southern California girl back in the 1980s. And it wrote this. It was hysterical. It was it used the lexicon, it used everything. It used,
I believe it. Well, it's a large learning model.
To say, this is great, but make it in the present tense, that's easy for ChatGPT.
You're right. That's a very relatively simple thing. But I was just like, I had an assistant working with me that was as smart about my subject, if not smarter.
Probably smarter. And you only had to pay $20 a month for her.
Yep. Well, the problem is, when do you become the assistant?
Well, I told you, I only got 20 years left on Earth, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't need to be doing this work, but I'm doing it because I enjoy it.
Why not make it easier?
I do like that it's easier and it's better.
Yeah.
I think that could change in a generation.
Yeah.
I could see that changing immediately.
Yeah.
From what I read this morning about artificial general intelligence, what's coming in a year is going to blow socks off. Steve, the clock is moving much faster than you think.
That's why in 10 days, if there is a company that says, we want to show you something, come up to our room, and it's a, ETC console or whatever, it could be any of the companies, with a voice command and with some lights, and basically saying,
ETC is not going to be the one. They're slow. They move slowly.
Well, it's going to be somebody. Maybe it's a Chinese company, and maybe an Asian company to do it. I mean, a big concern, everybody's talking about the election. We're not getting into politics. The big concern from all the billionaires who know what the hell they're talking about, the big question is, who is going to be in the lead when it comes to AI? Is it going to be China or the United States? Those are the two big players. And the worst thing we could do right now is lose that war. So Stan has the last question of the day.
And it's a doozy. Noel from Tuscaloosa asks, Tuscaloosa, Alabama must be. My lighting professor is a complete jerk. Whoa, that's some quick judgment there. All she does is criticize my work and tells me that I'll never make it in the profession. WTF does she know anyway? Should I stay? I only have one more year until I get my MFA. Should I stay to
Get
get my
my
MFA?
MFA.
There's a lot of rhyming
Right.
going on today. Man, I'm going to just pull this question apart a little bit. So, first of all, coming to a judgment about your professor is very immature and making that statement. But if you've been with them for 2 years, you may have reached the conclusion, okay, they're a jerk for you. All she does is criticize my work. Now, let's take that part of that sentence. I would say, isn't that why you went to school? To get criticized, to get better. You don't get better if everybody pats you on the head and says, that's great all the time. So that's part of learning. Now, the second part of that sentence, she tells me I'll never make it in the profession. I think that's not wise on your teacher's part, or let's say a little jerky, because nobody knows the future. A lot of people have been pontificating about the future lately, and my stock answer right now is the only thing that's for sure about the future is death and taxes. Because I'll just remember that I had a teacher in grad school who had a woman in his class named Bette Midler. And Bette Midler used to run down the halls of the University of Hawaii singing out loud. And he said, you are undisciplined. You will never make it in this business. She became Bette Midler. So I would dismiss that out of hand. Okay. And then what does she know anyway? I don't know. Some people land in academia because they couldn't do it anywhere else and they're terrible teachers. She could be in that bucket. Or she had a successful career and was hired to teach and decided to come back and give something. Maybe the way in which she's delivering the criticism is rubbing you the wrong way. Maybe, there's constructive criticism, which is geared to nurture and help you see things that maybe you're not seeing. And then there's stuff that people just say to you to make you feel bad and to hurt your self-esteem. So I'm trying to tease out what kind of criticism you're getting. And if you only have one more year, hell, human being can tolerate anything for a year. Stick it out, get your degree. That's my piece. Next.
I have nothing to say. Steve?
I think you summed it up, Stan.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, Mr. Concise Answers.
There you go. Thank you, Stan. Thank you for that precise answer. That's wonderful. Well, the rocking sounds of the luminoids
Hold it. Stan needs to, I'm giving Stan a homework assignment.
Oh, no.
I want you to figure out how to put this question into Chat GPT and Chat come back with a 200-word suggestion on how to handle this. I think that would be interesting.
Okay. Watch this. And here's the answer. Noel, I get it. Dealing with tough criticism is draining. If this MFA is your ticket to your dream career, it's worth pushing through, especially since you're so close to the finish line. Use the criticism as fuel to improve and prove her wrong. Hang in there. You've got this. Not bad.
It's interesting that ChatGPT, I think, came up with the exact same answer that Stan gave.
Of course.
It did.
But much more.
And shorter.
Yeah, much shorter.
And shorter.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Now put it in again, and this should be the prompt. Answer it as an 18-year-old from the San Fernando Valley in 1980.
Okay. Oh, my God. Noel, that sounds super rough. But, you're so close to being done. I'd say stick it out and get your MFA, and then you never have to deal with her again. Who even is she to say you won't make it? Prove her wrong. You got this, girl.
And there you go. Well, the rocking sounds of the luminoids tell us that once again you spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast unless it comes from ChatGPT. However,
this is how ChatGPT would say this. But if you decide to litigate us, the Snoop Group, with the highly questionable legal team of Sparks, Burnout, and Chase, will defend us with a strategy so aggressive it'll drain our retirement funds faster than a Vegas weekend. Their motto, justice may be blind, but billing isn't.
I like that.
I love it.
I think
That's
that
awesome.
I think that needs to go in there. Light Talk was written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, coming to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you a double Thanksgiving helping of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
So first of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and we'll see you next Saturday
Be grateful,
morning.
baby. Be grateful, baby.
That's right. Bye-bye from Light Talk.